Good evening and welcome to the June 21st, 2022 regular meeting of the Mayor and Council. First item on our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. If I can ask everyone to please rise. Tom Lonergan-Seeger is going to lead us in pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Tom. Next item on our agenda is reflection, and I'll just call for a moment of silence, please. Thank you all very much. Next on our agenda is approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve tonight. First is from the work session held on May 23rd, 2022. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mayor, I move approval of the minutes from May 23, 2022.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, you got an aye, right?
Aye.
Okay. That carries 4-0. Next, we have the minutes from the regular session on June 6, 2022. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mayor, I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay.
I abstain.
Okay, so that carries 2-0 with two abstentions, council members McNulty and Henderson. Next, we have on our agenda, we have appointments to various committees. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mayor, I'll move approval of your appointments to the various committees. First to the Economic and Business Development Committee, Mary Fayleg for a 3-year term ending in June 2025. The Old Town Advisory Committee for indefinite term, Phil Cook. And the reappointments to the Commission on Landlord-Tenant Affairs, a 3-year term, Joan Moore, term expiring June 2025. Also to the Commission on Landlord-Tenant Affairs, Jean Noah, term expiring June 2025. And reappointments to the Economic and Business Development Committees, Judy Costello and Towne Sala, both terms to expire in June 2025.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, that carries 4-0. Is there anybody whose name we just called in the room? Not seeing anybody? Okay, well, we'll thank them when we see them. Next item on our agenda is presentations, and we are going to move to, whenever Tanisha's ready, to our first quarter Employee and Team Recognition Awards.
Thank you, Mayor Ashman. I am excited to present to you the winners of the first quarter City Employee Recognition Awards. The Employee Recognition Award winners are nominated by their peers with final selections made by the Employee Recognition Committee, which is a group of volunteers who help us select and highlight the best and brightest among our staff, which is a hard job to do because all of them are really excellent. These selected winners for this quarter really demonstrate the highest quality of dedication to public service and quality of work. And the awards are not just to thank the winners, but should also serve as inspiration to all of us as a standard of leadership and excellence. Our winners are grouped as employee and team of the quarter, and this quarter, the first quarter's award goes to Tammy Castillo as the employee of the quarter. Tam is the Administrative Support Specialist for the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Culture. She was nominated for her management of the department's financial assistance program, which provides a discount to eligible city residents. Her management of this program has been outstanding as she took the initiative to revamp the packet and create new fillable forms to better assist those applying, and they can be managed online or printed, and also to create an all-inclusive English and Spanish version of the form. She also recommended website changes to help guide applicants through the process. Her exceptional service has benefited the city applicants and the program itself, and she's been very successful in managing this program. Congratulations to Tam.
Well, let's give her a round of applause. She's not here, but she can see the applause on the replay.
She can see the applause and our lauding of our appreciation. And then we have the team of the quarter. And this quarter, we will like to recognize the police taser training team. They were nominated for their work in developing a comprehensive plan to train all sworn officers in the deployment, safety, and de-escalation practices. Team members include Corporal Larby Ducowney, Sergeant Marlon Ramirez, Corporal Brandon Day, Corporal Evan Milano, Officer 1 James Doyle, Officer 1 Stuart Jackson, Officer 2 Carissa Fortin, Officer 2 Ronald Key Quinyogo, and Officer 2 Gabriela DeCenza, as well as Defensive Tactics Instructor Corporal Justin Compton, and Officer 3 Noah Gruvik, Officer 3 Mark McGinnis, and Officer 2 Andrew Brim. Taser training has provided Gaithersburg police officers with sound skills to safely use de-escalation and overall less lethal tactics to resolve rapidly evolving situations involving combatant persons and those with the least possible harm. The training served to provide options to allow officers to resolve immediate situations without the need for force, and thus in the safest manner possible for the officers and the community. The team used multiple avenues to present information through PowerPoint, lecture, open discussion, and then put the concepts to test in practical exercises that determined the officer's ability in critical thinking and decision-making during complex scenarios. The training provided almost every Thursday for 9 training weeks in the first quarter of 2022 and required hours of preparation to develop curriculum consistent with the department values that emphasize the least intrusive means to gain compliance and resolve potential conflicts in real-world scenarios. The end result of such high-quality training is officers who make better decisions on the street, and the training team is to be commended for their efforts in making this possible. Congratulations to the team.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for that, Tanisha. And next, you are leading us once again in the fiscal year 22 strategic plan update closeout presentation.
Who is ready for the new council chambers? That would be me. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to present to you the FY22 strategic plan update and closeout. And we're going to start with the PowerPoint presentation. Just wanted to give a little bit of background. As the city moves forward with a redesigned strategic plan, which you'll hear more about shortly following this presentation, staff wanted to ensure that updates to the key action items and critical measures that were presented for this fiscal year were provided before we close it out. The full report has been included in the packet for your review at your leisure. It is also available on the city's website. This final update identifies completed items, a few of which I will highlight tonight. In most cases, outstanding items, so those who have not yet been completed or in progress, will be moved forward to the new plan and will continue to be tracked to completion. Some outstanding items may be adjusted to better align with our new priorities. The current plan is organized into 11 strategic directions, and so we'll start here on packet page 32. The strategic directions are city administration, communication, community services, economic development, environment, housing, infrastructure and facilities, parks, recreation and culture, planning and development, police, and transportation. These strategic directions have been with us for quite some time, and it was only fitting that we spent a little bit of time closing out this section as we move forward with our refreshed strategic plan. So I'm just gonna spend a little time with a quick highlight for each strategic direction area, and we'll be pleased to answer any questions that you have. So for city administration, there's lots of parts moving, so staff always wants me to make sure to remind you all that just because these things are highlighted doesn't mean lots of other work isn't happening, but we thought that these items were notable to mention this evening. Some of them have been completed, some are in progress. Our largest construction project in quite some time is still underway. In fact, I think the second bullet point might already be a little bit stale as we continue to work as close as we can with our general contractor to move this project forward so that we might move into the new council chambers, and of course our police department gets a new headquarters. We were expecting substantial progress to be completed by the end of this month. They are making good progress, but we believe the substantial completion deadline will be pushed back further. We do hope to be in the building, at least reach substantial completion by September is what we're aiming for. There'll still be work to be done after substantial completion, but that will be a huge milestone for us in the project. Employee engagement plan. This has been a big project undertaken in partnership with the CMO's office and the Human Resources Department as we first started with a survey of our employees to determine our level of engagement. The good news is that we are highly engaged and much more engaged than peer organizations that we were benchmarked against. What's coming next from this is a training program so that we can provide support to all of our supervisors and leaders so that we can continue to build on the strengths of our organization and our work culture so that we hopefully continue to be an employer of choice, particularly in this environment. Under communication, we will be kicking off a new redesigned citizen survey that will happen in early fall, late summer, early fall, with results coming just before the budget process kicks off for us internally. We're excited about that. There's also, I want to talk about the third bullet here. There's been a concerted effort to really do more coordination across the city on our diversity initiatives. So for example, if we are highlighting Caribbean American Month as we are in June or Pride Month in June, we look for programming efforts across the city to align those initiatives. So we have an opportunity to further amplify the inclusion and diversity efforts of the city. And that's going very well. In community services, I want to highlight that the Coalition for the Addictive Prevention and Treatment organization has been established, and that has been a very effective communication and partnership opportunity for not just the city but nonprofits in our area to help support that important initiative. The Financial Empowerment Center, or the FEC, had a soft launch this spring. We also recruited a new staff member who's been with us, I think, about 5 weeks now to lead that effort, and she's doing a fantastic job. You will get an update on that in, I think it's September, July. I think it's July. I'm looking at Dennis. It will be an update in July, I believe, to give you a status on where we are with that and preparing for a much larger launch. But even in the soft launch, we're starting to see really good numbers with access and people taking advantage of that service that's being offered. Under economic development, obviously Lake Forest Mall will continue to be one of our highest priorities, and there's a lot of coordination across the city. So this shows up in economic development and other areas of the strategic plan as well. The economic development team has been very active with this repositioning plan and the master plan, working directly with the current owner and our planning staff, as well as others from CMO and other city staff. So we want to make sure that the master plan is fulfilled, and we want to help the current owners be as successful as they can in meeting the imperatives of that plan. So lots of effort will continue there. I think you will see that show up in the strategic plan for quite some time. And I want to highlight the small business database. That was a new effort for this year. With the help of an intern, the economic development team was able to create a new database. That was something we learned during the pandemic that we needed to have access to be able to reach our small local businesses, to assist them and connect with them and make sure they're getting the support that they need. This is a first step in a multi-step process to better support our small local businesses in the city. And under environment, the RFP was completed for the citywide LED street light conversion. Bids were received and reviewed, and we are currently, I think we may have already adopted the contract if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so that did occur. So we've got a check mark there. We are expanding our compost drop-off program, and the Rainscapes reward program is being expanded, and that's currently underway. Under housing, as you know, this spring we conducted the fair housing, I'm mixing two things together. So we conducted our housing survey for the master plan element, which is different from the impediments to fair housing project, which is underway. You will receive an update on the outcome of that project in September. And hopefully we have some good news there and some guidance for us to further strengthen our fair housing policies in the city. And under the affordable housing, the survey, we did survey owners of the naturally occurring affordable housing in regarding future plans. I think all of these things are continuing, so we'll continue to see them, but I think it was important to highlight some of the affordable housing work that the economic development staff is doing, and in partnership with the planning staff, particularly with the housing master plan element. Infrastructure and facilities, obviously cross-departmental work here. There's a lot of partnership with the public works team on the construction of the new police station in the city council chambers. The Old Town fiber dump bank project was delayed, but is underway and should be completed by the end of this month. There was an opportunity there as we opened up the road to do two projects at the same time, and we took advantage of that. Also, the city parking lot pavement assessment was completed in March of 2022, which this does allow us to better plan for improvements as we do with our streets. So we took a very similar approach so that we can target and prioritize our parking lot maintenance as we do streets. Helps us shift our dollars and spread them further. Parks, recreation, and culture. Lots of updates here, but the construction was completed in October on the new synthetic turf field at Robertson Park. Very exciting project there. The trail mapping initiative was completed, and after school youth sports initiative was expanded. So they recruited 6 teams, 5 middle school and 1 high school, for a Soccer for Change League. These are our inclusive efforts, diversity and inclusion efforts. I'm trying to make sure that we're reaching everyone in the city, and those youth that are typically not participating in our programs. These are programs that are developed strategically to target them. Planning and development. Again, you see the master plan here for Lake Forest Mall. And staff is working on the tree manual, which is a multi-department effort as well. And also want to highlight their work on the amendment to the city's master plan and the housing element, which is a big undertaking for the planning and development department. And police, we talked a little bit and gave an award tonight in reference to the de-escalation training that we continue to prioritize and emphasize as a department. Very, very pleased with the work that they're doing there. And they continue to expand our community outreach. So, for example, monthly meetings with the police and community together meetings. The PACT group was a group that formed out of the George Floyd demonstrations in 2020. We've continued our relationship with those individuals and have used them as sounding boards, and also have an opportunity to share and learn practices with them. So that's been a good community engagement effort. And then finally, with transportation, project happening there is replacing the pedestrian bridge behind Casey. I will tell you, with this project and many of other capital projects, we are seeing what everyone else is seeing across the country. Delays due to escalating prices, due to supply chain issues. So there may be, and we will likely continue to talk about, adjustments to our CIP and different projects that we thought were going to start or may have started and may need to be delayed. In some cases, the delay could be strategic in that we are hopeful prices will go down once we get through this funnel and bottleneck that's occurring in our economy. It may not be in our best interest to pursue completion of a project if it's gonna, the markup is gonna be tremendous. So we're keeping an eye on that, not just for capital projects, but even things like our fleet replacement and vehicle maintenance. That is just a brief highlight of the closeout of the strategic directions plan, which will be replaced by our new strategic plan pending your adoption this evening. And I can answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks so much, Denisha. A lot of these items are sort of review. We know they've been happening throughout the year, but it's good to sort of close the loop on the previous strategic plan as we move into the new strategic plan. I did want to mention for the public, you know already, but I wanted to mention for the public that the turf field at Kelly Park is one of those projects that's delayed because of the vendor and the supply chain and the whole thing, and so it's not opening at the same time as that school as we hoped it would have been. But that's not, it's outside of our control. It's just a fact. Any questions or comments about these updates on closing the loop on our strategic plan? Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I was
Oh,
deferring to the other side of the deck.
I didn't see Rob
Yeah.
indicate he wanted to speak. Do you want to, Rob?
If you're going to give me the opportunity to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Of course I am. Go ahead.
Tanisha, I appreciate all the effort here in highlighting the many accomplishments in this long but thoughtful process, and I was very happy to be involved in providing input into this. I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jim.
I'm gonna have to learn not to move until somebody else talks. But thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to associate myself with those comments. All the hard work that the city staff has done throughout the year, obviously coming in towards the end of last year and kind of jumping onto that moving train. But congratulations to really all the different departments. We've had continued challenges through COVID, and the team continues to react and putting the citizens' best interests in mind, really being thoughtful stewards of our budget and looking for the best ways to pivot where needed. So thank you for all of the hard work, and I echo Rob's thoughts. It was really enjoyable to be a part of the process going forward in looking at the new strategic plan, and I'm excited to discuss that coming up.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else? If not, then thank you, Tanisha.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is public comments. This is the time the mayor and council like to hear from anybody who'd like to speak on any topic that's not a public hearing topic. And tonight we have no public hearing topic. So anything you'd like, we ask that you keep your comments no more than 3 minutes. If you have more than 3 minutes worth of material to deliver, then you can use your 3 minutes and then send us the rest in writing. State your name and address, or neighborhood or affiliation. For the record, do we have anybody here who'd like to speak tonight? Okay, let me just check on Zoom. I see some new names there. Tech team, can you play the instructional video for anybody who'd like to testify on Zoom?
Good evening. If you've connected to the meeting tonight via Zoom and you're on a desktop or a laptop and you wish to make a public comment, we can't currently see or hear you. What you need to do, please, is wiggle your mouse around and look towards the bottom center of your screen. You should see a raise hand button. Go ahead and click on that now for us, please. Alternatively, if you've connected in via telephone, you can press *9.
Okay, so I see a few people on Zoom. Is there anybody who'd like to speak under public comments? If so, use the Zoom raise hand function. And I'm not seeing anybody. So thank you all very much. We will move on to our next agenda item, which I will get to in a second. It is from the Mayor and City Council, and we will start with Councilmember Lisa Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. If you've noticed, I've been missing for the past couple of prior weeks. I took a much-needed vacation out of the country. I had the opportunity to go to Barcelona, Spain, where I was intending to not legislate or advocate for anything, and walked out of an American store, I won't say the store, and there was a sizable protest right out front about that store and the fact that they are in business on Sundays and on holidays. So I sauntered off and went back to the beach. I missed the city of Gaithersburg, though, and glad to be back. When I came back, I had the opportunity to participate in the Jubilation Day Gospel Concert, which was quite energetic, impressive, and had me out of my chair doing some praise dances. It was the first time since 2018, I believe, that this concert has occurred. So all who were there were happy to be there because it's been a long time coming for this to be back on the stage at the City Hall Concert Pavilion. So I was happy to be there and participate. Also had the opportunity to, my first time at the Maryland Municipal Legislative Session, as a first time ever, and first time as an elected official. And I will say that, you know, as a child, I was raised to not be prideful, to recognize that because of other things and circumstances that your successes come, your progress and your next steps. And it was a hard thing not to do, being with the city of Gaithersburg, with the elected officials and the staff at MML. It is, because you wear that name on your badge, people immediately recognize you're with the city of Gaithersburg, and you're introduced to other people immediately. When I first got there, because of traffic on the bridge, I got there later than I had wanted to, and I missed the registration. So we were maneuvering because it was between me and getting to dinner. And when I got to the person who was able to give me tickets to get me to dinner, she kind of looked at me. And someone whispered to her, "She's with the city of Gaithersburg." She said, "Oh," and she gave me 2 tickets. And that went on throughout the conference. So the workshops were incredible, but I cannot put a value on the time that I was able to spend with my colleagues, with the elected officials, with Tanisha, with Lynn, with the staff, and not being prideful of how grateful I am to be able to sit on this dais and to be a part of the city of Gaithersburg amongst 157 municipalities. It rains big. And, you know, the mayor's no slouch there, so hanging out with him gets you into places. So I want to say thank you to my colleagues here on the dais and to the staff at the city of Gaithersburg and to the residents for truly making this the greatest city in the world. And that proved true for the 3-4 days I was there at MML. Thank you. And then last but not least, went to Kentlands Under the Lights, and there was a high school band that performed there
They were good.
amazing.
Yeah.
These guys, if whatever American Idol, the Grammys, in the music, whatever music awards doesn't pick these kids up, then they're missing out on a treat. I'm not sure their names, but they were fantastic, and hopefully they will continue to perform, because they were really good. And that's it.
Agreed. Thank you for those nice comments about MML. It was a great team building exercise, as it always is. Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too have been missing, although I did not get to go to Barcelona. I did have a very important thing to attend to, my daughter's graduation from high school. So I want to wish the class of 22, both at the Academy of the Holy Cross and across our great city. It's been a challenging 4 years for all of our students, and this senior class in particular, being able to come back as seniors and being able to graduate in person, I think was really important. And you could see a lot of that joy and some of those mixed emotions in the students' faces. So I want to thank you all for your patience with the family obligations, both CJ's graduation and then my son's graduation from St. Martin's the week before. Speaking of St. Martin's, I also want to acknowledge and congratulate Susan Feudale, who is a second grade teacher at St. Martin's, who was honored with the Archdiocese of Washington's Golden Apple Award. It's given to 10 teachers across the Archdiocese each year. And Sean had Miss Feudale as a first grader way back when, and I can personally attest that she is an outstanding educator. So congratulations to her. It's great to have such great teachers here in all of our schools in Cross Gaithersburg, and it's nice to see that recognition. I too had an amazing time at my first MML conference. It was, as Lisa said, it was really something to be a representative from Gaithersburg. And I want to thank Councilmember Spiegel, Councilmember Harris, Mayor Ashman for really going out of their way to make sure that Lisa and I were introduced at every step. Please meet our new council members. It was great to really get to know the Rockville contingent, the Mayor of Frederick, some folks from all around Montgomery County, across the state. Got to meet the governor and the First Lady. And when Lisa says that the city of Gaithersburg is held in high regard, it is absolutely true. And it's our city manager, it's our city attorney, it's our deputy city attorney, it's our assistant city manager, deputy city manager. Gaithersburg does it right, and we talk about the Gaithersburg way. And we are looked up to around the state. It was really quite something. Even just in us talking about our election and how it went, and kind of rehashing some of those conversations. Like, yeah, that's not how it works where we are. Kind of wistfully. So it really did make me feel proud to have this pin on my lapel and to get to meet everybody. And these are important allies across the state. MML does some really important work lobbying our legislature for important things that affect municipalities across the state. And when you have kind of that united front, things that will affect all of us equally, it's important to have those relationships. So I was excited to get to meet them, and really appreciated being there, and looking forward to being able to dig in a little bit farther in years to come. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the celebration of Juneteenth yesterday. And the one thing that struck me as I'm reading up about the history of Juneteenth, and how long it took for us to recognize what happened. What really struck me was the 2+ years that it took for news of the Emancipation Proclamation to reach the enslaved people of Texas, and the lengths that certain people were willing to go to hold on to power and deprive people of rights. And with some of the things that have been going on in our country lately, I think it's really important to remember that some people will go to extenuating circumstances to hold on to their own power. And we can't let that happen. So I think it's just an important reminder. Opal Lee's quote, "No one is free unless we're all free," I think is the line. And we just need to be aware of any attempts to deprive people of their rights. So I just thought I would end on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. We'll go to Neil.
Thanks, Mayor. One last I'll make one comment about the Maryland Municipal League Conference, maybe two comments. One is that if you said you were from Barcelona, you wouldn't have been treated as well. But also, on a similar note, really, I happened to be talking to one of the people running for county executive, and has been grilling me and other members of the Gaithersburg staff and elected officials on how we do it in Gaithersburg to try to bring that to the county. So again, we're trying to do it right here, and I think it's being noticed very well, and people are trying to emulate and learn from what goes on here and how things are done. Quick note, was happy to attend last week the opening of a brand new art gallery. It's actually 4 doors down the street from my home in Kentlands at 361 Main Street. It's called ROFA Project / Beta Art Gallery. It's actually a joint venture of 2 different art galleries, one with local art and one with art from South America. Very high quality work and very beautiful facility that they've created. So, check it out. Nice people. Couple of letters that are in our packet. One focusing on the vote last week at the Transportation Planning Board on the updated 25-year long-range plan for the region's transportation, urging us to vote for some climate action and energy plans that are included. So the staff had proposed that we set a goal of reducing greenhouse gases by 23% by 2030. They thought 23% was achievable based on what we know and policies that the TPB would like to put in place. They also suggested that if we were being ambitious, and which is what the letters that we received had suggested, that we increase that goal to 32%, which they thought was a stretch goal. It was very difficult, but if everything went right, that we could achieve that as well by electrification of the vehicle fleet and other actions like building more housing closer to transportation hubs and things like that. The TPB actually voted to increase the goal to 50%, which frankly we don't know how to get to, but is a double stretch goal, and we'll see how we get there. I'm a little concerned about setting goals that are unlikely to be achieved, but let's go for it. But a number of other suggestions had been made in these sets of emails, and there are 7 or 8 different initiatives, including the couple that I mentioned, that are in the plan, and there are another 7 or 8 that are going to be studied as part of the process going forward to see if they can help. So we're doing our best to do our part to reduce greenhouse gases. This is strictly focused on the transportation sector. There are other initiatives in the local region to reduce emissions from the energy sector and from the building sector. So we're all trying to do our part. Another set of concerns that have been raised regarding the proposed project to infill a multi-story building with apartments and retail in the Kentlands shopping center that Kimco owns. The concerns are from some neighboring condominiums regarding parking and traffic. Their concern is that while the building is being constructed and after it's occupied, that if there's not sufficient parking available, that people will be parking in the surrounding areas and crowding out the local residents. So I brought those concerns to the city, and we're having those discussions and also talking to the developer. It's my understanding that project is not planned to go forward for several years, but we've already approved a sketch plan that had some of those concerns addressed, but things have changed, and we'll see if they can be addressed further to make sure that everybody's comfortable that when this plan goes forward, that everyone will be able to drive and park in peace. And I think that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Rob.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. For the record, I would like to go to Barcelona as well. But since I didn't go to Barcelona, the consolation prize was I got to attend the ribbon cutting of Saints Row Brewery, the only brewery open in the city of Gaithersburg, and absolutely delicious beer. And hopefully they'll extend their hours on Monday night at some point so that we can go there afterwards. I'm going to ditto all the other comments that were made on the various activities that were going on, because my hope is to make it out of this meeting to see the waning sun on this solstice, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Rob. I will underscore and stress certain points that have been made. I want to congratulate the Kentlands Community Foundation, and in particular John Ingracia and Silvio Renzi for putting together Kentlands Under the Lights, which has become a spectacular event and something that makes me incredibly proud of our community. I want to wish all the luck in the world to Saints Row Brewery in Old Town. It's exciting that we were able to cut that ribbon and that they're open. I want to thank particularly our new colleagues here at the dais for such eloquence about Maryland Municipal League and the value that they see in it. I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you had an excellent experience, because there is a lot there. That's a lot of opportunity there for us and partnerships. Also, last week I had the chance to, after the first one was rained out, throw out the first pitch to a Gaithersburg Giants game, and I was to everyone's relief, I did not embarrass the city. It got across the plate. I felt good about it, even though it was a little more lobby than it was, a line drive sort of pitch.
I heard it was a hanging curveball.
Sure, let's go with that. But I will say I stayed and watched for a few innings, and the quality of play is really, really impressive. Like the kid from. These are college kids, so they're not in session. So that over the summer they'd find these leagues to play in, but they're really college baseball players. And the one kid from the team we were playing was throwing consistently. I was sitting next to the coach, between 85 and 90. That's pretty fast. It's faster than I want to face, but they were hitting it, and so it was really good. I have to recommend this experience. Like it's real quality baseball there. And it's right in our backyard at Kelly Park. It's just a very nice, enjoyable experience. So, that said, next week we will have a work session on June 27th, Monday, June 27th, 7:30 p.m. to receive an update on the Quince Orchard Boulevard Street reconstruction / bicycle path plan. And you can participate the same ways you are tonight, either in person or over Zoom. The next regular session of the Mayor and Council will be Monday, July 5th. Same deal, 7:30 p.m. in person or over Zoom. And with that, we will go to from the City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Ashman. I think it's my second MML conference in person, and certainly last year's I think was a little muted a bit as we were trying to come out of COVID. This was a spectacular experience for me. I just want to say about the conference that as a testament to Gaithersburg being held in high regard throughout the state, we had 3 staff members presenting on 3 different panels during the conference. So I got a chance to see Amanda Duncan present on social media. She took some really interesting questions from elected officials on a social media adjacent topic. It wasn't necessarily the direction of their presentation, but there was lots of questions about, well, what do I do about my own social media as an elected official? And I thought she and the other panelists did a really great job, and she represented the city very well. Got a chance to sit in on our own Lynn Board's presentation with 2 other panelists who, they were fine, but Lynn.
They did not compare.
I mean, Lynn did.
Come on.
Lynn did a fantastic job, and I wish I could say I had a chance to sit in on Deputy City Attorney Frank Johnson's presentation, but it was standing room only, and we were turned away at the door.
Okay.
So, so good job to our 3 excellent staff who represented us well at the conference. I just want to mention, since we won't have another formal meeting before our Summer Fest, so
They were just writing me a note.
typically you all mention these things, so I get to back clean up a little bit today. So please join us on July 2nd for Summer Fest. It's our first back since the pandemic, and we are extremely excited. 6 o'clock at Borough Park. We will go, I think there's an after party that goes until 11:30. All new to me because, I've not had a chance to experience it yet. So I'm very excited about that, and the staff is working very hard to make sure we're prepared to provide an excellent event as I've seen us do.
It's going to be amazing.
Spectacular. It's really a great
I
event.
have heard hands down it's one of the best events around. So I take that to mean it's the best, and people are a little modest and don't want to say it's the best. So I'm really looking forward to it, and my mom and nephew will be visiting, so I get to show off the city a little bit. And then there was some messaging that went out today, both to the public through a press release, and also we've sent some direct messaging to our homeowners associations, just as a reminder that the council did opt in to the COCC. I get this, I put the C's in the wrong place every time. CCOC, which is to provide support to HOA and leadership in all sorts of ways, but also it's a resource to those who live in common ownership communities, and we want to make sure that everyone's aware of it, not just HOA leaders. So that information has gone out. We'll continue to provide updates to the community about that. And that's all I have this evening.
Great. Thank you, Tanisha. So we're going to move on to economic development update, but before, I want to acknowledge before Tom starts that Tom was inducted at MML as I forget what the acronym is, but it's like the Maryland City Managers.
MCCMA.
Lots of C's in that one.
Yeah, MCCMA. So congratulations to you, Tom, and go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the recognition. And just one item for you all tonight. The Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development recently announced the next round of something called Project Restore, which will provide $25 million to fill vacant retail and commercial buildings and support business investment, job creation, and economic growth in state communities. Businesses opening or expanding into vacant retail and commercial establishments can be eligible for grants through this program, which can be used to help new and growing businesses with rent payments and operating costs in their first year. 2 grant opportunities through this. One, the Property Assistance Grant provides up to $30,000 for 1 year to support costs associated with rent, mortgage payment, or property improvements as applicable. And the Business Operations Grant, which for businesses that generate sales and use tax, provides up to $250,000 per calendar year to support capital and operating costs associated with business operations in that vacant property. The application will be opening on July 7th at noon. Sharon and I are already in touch with property owners who we think may benefit by this opportunity, and anyone interested can visit dhcdmaryland.gov Project Restore for more information.
Excellent.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over here.
Okay, we are going to move on to ordinances, resolutions, and regulations. And Tanisha, you have the first one. It's our new strategic plan.
Thank you. So the strategic plan is a very important document as it serves as an overall plan to achieve the city's vision. It guides us in developing proposed operating and capital budgets. It helps us create work plans to achieve our objectives and helps residents understand the city's goals and how they will be addressed. As a city, we are no stranger to this best practice, as the mayor and city council and staff have used strategic planning as our North Star for many years. Just as our community is not static and continues to evolve, our strategic plan must also be dynamic and grow and progress in concert with our residents who are ultimately served by the plan. Since the fall of 2021, elected officials and staff have been working with consultants to redesign the city's strategic plan to refresh our perspectives and priorities. Through employee surveys, several day-long retreats for elected officials and staff. Staff began to shape the plan that will serve as our roadmap for the next 5 years. Unlike the current plan that was just presented a few moments ago, the new strategic plan employs outcome areas whose focus span multiple departments, providing a more comprehensive view. These outcome areas are the heart of the plan, the things that will help us advance our vision and fulfill our mission over the next 5 years. Each outcome area contains actionable items that are designed to drive us towards success. They will be measured, assessed, and shared with the mayor and council and the community to demonstrate our progress over the next 5 years. And tonight, I would like to highlight the foundational sections of our redesigned strategic plan. And we are showing currently on the screen packet page 137, which has some of the key elements of our plan. You can see the framework, which starts with the vision and the mission and our core values, which, by the way, spell ACET. And so I'm going to drive staff crazy with that acronym over the next 5 years as we find ways to incorporate that into our performance measurement or management for staff and other ways that we strive to live out the high ideals of serving this community. And so that's what you see along the left side of the page. The middle of this page shows the outcome areas. So you can see there that we have safe and welcoming community, vibrant culture. Now I can't see the screen. I thought I could. Sorry, let me pull it up here.
It's 137.
It is 137, which I just said. Thank you, Mayor.
You're trying to read that up there.
I was trying to.
Impressive.
You know, there was a time. There was a time. Okay, so we've got safe and welcoming community, vibrant culture, economic development and redevelopment, environmental stewardship and sustainability, equitable outcomes, viable transportation options, fiscal responsibility, great place to work, and excellent city services and facilities. Now, there's a lot of cross-pollination across these outcome areas, and we spent a great deal of time making sure that we were emphasizing the things that were most important to us, which is how they then become a separate outcome area. Each outcome area has several key strategies that will have relevant actions that we will measure and track as we've done in the past and report on. So we're very excited about the new plan, and I want to take this opportunity to thank each of you. The planning process spanned 2 city councils. We had great input from everyone who participated in the process, so I want to thank you for your concerted and diligent efforts. I want to thank all of the staff, from the senior leadership team to every staff member who participated in our focus groups, of which there were many, and we still aren't done, as the staff knows. And our employee survey, all of that went into the plan. And I'm also especially grateful for the residents and business owners who took time out to participate in one of our 2 community forums to provide their input into the plan. I think due to all of this input and guidance from our consultants at Raftellus, we have a plan that reflects the future of who we want to be and the great things and foundation on which we have to build, and I'm grateful for that effort. So with that, I ask for your support by formally adopting the strategic plan framework, and I'm happy to address any questions that you may have.
Tanisha, thank you so much for the presentation. I want to give everyone involved kudos, but particularly you, because this was, I could see how much ownership you took over this process and working directly with Raftellus, and I thought it was a great process. And I come into it not being like a natural strategic planner. I'm more sort of, I try to look at the practical answer to what's in front of me, and I'm not often like doing big picture exercises. And I was skeptical of it. You may remember at the beginning I was skeptical. I think it was great. I think this project really has yielded something that actually looks like the will of the council and the will of the people of Gaithersburg expressed through the council. So congratulations. This is a really impressive document, and that Raptelis did a beautiful job with graphic design on the thing too. Any other comments or questions of Tanisha before we move to approve?
I'll just echo my prior comments that were given because Jim pointed at me. So ditto on those.
Okay.
So I'd like to just emphasize one point that you made in the earlier presentation about this plan in the communication section. I think one of the most important things that we need to figure out and that is in the plan is how to communicate with the underserved communities here in Gaithersburg. Been trying to figure it out for as long as I've been on the council, and hopefully we'll, make good progress as we go forward. But we have so many new immigrants and so many diverse communities here in the most diverse city in the country that we really need to figure out how to let them know what services are available, what we can do to help, and how to participate in the city. So I think it's great that it's an important part of the plan, and I would like to move the resolution to approve the plan.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Cindy, I'm going to invite you up to either the podium or the desk, whichever you prefer.
Whichever's shorter.
Welcome, Cindy Hines. We haven't seen you here in a while.
I know, it's my annual visit because I'm, terribly camera shy, but we'll do our best there. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Cindy Hines, the Assistant to the City Manager, and this is the resolution of the Mayor and City Council awarding the Frederick J. Felton Neighborhood Matching Grant to various communities. This dollar-for-dollar matching grant is open to all homeowner associations, condominium associations, citizens associations, or any group that represents a majority of residents in any given neighborhood, and offers grants up to $5,000 for community improvements. Additional information can be found on the city's website. The application portal opened on April 1st, and applications were accepted through May 13th. 17 applications were received and reviewed by staff from the City Manager's Office, Planning and Code Administration, and Public Works. Staff recommends approval of 11 awards totaling $36,970. Copies of these grants have been provided for your review. With the approval of the council, the awardees will receive a notification letter identifying the award amount, requirements of the grant, and the performance period. Awardees are reimbursed for project costs after the work has been confirmed and itemized receipts have been submitted. The resolution is provided for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Cindy. I would just want to make a quick note that the Neighborhood Matching Grant Awards are named after Fred Felton, the former Assistant City Manager of the City of Gaithersburg. Worked for the city for many years, was a dear friend to many of us, and tragically passed 8 or 10 years ago. It's been a while, but we miss him, and this is a lovely tribute to his lovely legacy. He certainly, we were doing neighborhood matching grants while he was here, and this was an important program for him. So I love that his legacy lives on through this. I will note for the record, one of the communities on this list that, if approved, would get an award is Orchard Place, where I live. However, I will say that the project that they're working on has no benefit to me in particular, and anyway, I don't have a vote, but I'm just putting that out there for full disclosure. I did look over the grants, and this all looked good. Any questions or comments?
I'll make a comment,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor. So good to see you in person, Cindy. Having been as a head of an HOA, and we've when I was at Saybrook, we applied and received this grant several times, and it's just a great program that encourages our community to beautify itself and do those projects that maybe they couldn't do without that matching grant. So I'm pleased to be sitting up here and seeing these great projects, and unless anybody else has any other comments, I'll wait to move the...
Yeah, I need you to wait because, so first of all, I want to echo what Jim said about this program. It's a wonderful program, and it's been very helpful to the community. I need to pick a small nit and make a small correction. The name of this community association where I live is not Kentland's Citizens Association. but it is in fact Kentland Citizens Assembly. So if we can make that correction, I will defer to Jim to actually make the resolution.
As amended, so moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, carries 4-0. Well done, Cindy.
Speech.
Sean Stevens. We are going to talk about contract on ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The resolution I bring before you tonight is to authorize the city manager to amend the existing contract for the provision and delivery of ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel. On November 2nd, 2020, the city entered into a contract with James River Solutions, LLC for the provision and delivery of ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel in an amount not to exceed $99,000 annually. The initial term of the contract expired on June 30th, 2021, and is subject to automatic renewals unless either party opts out for 4 additional years through June 30th, 2025. Due to the unprecedented price increases for fuel over the past year, staff have calculated that the city needs to increase the annual contract compensation under the contract by $71,000 to provide the same amount of fuel, thus increasing the not to exceed to $170,000 annually. City staff believe this amount will allow the city to maintain fleet operations through the fiscal years remaining on the contract through June 30th, 2025. Staff recommends amending the existing contract, increasing the not to exceed to $170,000 annually. There are sufficient funds in the FY23 operating budget. Do you have any questions for me?
Questions or comments?
This does not lock in a rate, correct? It's just,
The rates are adjustable every week. We get rack and retailer reports every Tuesday, which basically dictate what the prices are. So they can go up and down. It fluctuates throughout the year.
correct, okay. And so should prices over the course of this contract, of course, go back down, we just wouldn't spend that money.
We won't spend that much money then,
great.
obviously. But but conversely, if the prices continue to go up, I may be coming back to see you again in the future.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed. You want to move the resolution?
I will move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Brian Helms, I did not even know you were in the room. You were,
For a large man, I'm quite sneaky at times.
well done. Go right ahead.
Mayor, council members, thanks for having me this evening. I come before you with 5 resolutions, which I believe is an IT all-time record. So I apologize. The first one up is a resolution for land management, software maintenance, consulting, and payment services with Tyler Technologies. Tyler owns the city's financial and ERP software package Munis, along with its land management software package Energov. Staff wish to add Tyler's payment processing service, Tyler Payments, to the Energov system. Utilizing Tyler Payments with Energov will align the city with Tyler's long-term product vision, enable all Tyler features for online payments through Energov, and improve the integration ties between Munis and Energov. Adding Tyler Payments to the existing Energov contract will likely make the contract exceed $100,000 annually, thus requiring Mayor and City Council approval. Given the variability of credit card fees and the variable volume of development activities, this resolution is for a not-to-exceed amount of $120,000 annually. Be happy to answer any questions.
So I'll go to you in a second, Lisa. Okay. But so, for the benefit of the public, someone from the public is you. What's the public interaction with Energov, and what will they now be able to do if we do this?
Sure. So Energov is a planning and code system that covers permitting, planning, licensing, and code violations. Predominantly, if you apply for a permit, you've used Energov. If you make a complaint or there's a dead deer in the road, you've probably had your comments end up in Energov. The payment processing portion of this Tyler Payments would handle all credit cards. Currently, we're using a third-party credit card provider. So this really is just shifting the fees from the third-party credit card provider into the native credit card provider for Tyler Payments. Rates might be a little bit higher. It's really hard to tell with credit cards. If you swipe with kind of a premium travel card, rates are higher than if you maybe swipe with a run-of-the-mill Visa card. So it's really hard to predict, but also the volume of permits, right, can vary widely based on the housing market, things like that. So that's where the variable nature comes in. So we're not anticipating it would be $100,000 in any given year. The $120,000 also allows for, I believe it's up to about $18,000 of consulting. Consulting needs vary depending upon what the product developments are.
Great. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. There's an integration with Tyler and Energov? And who's doing that integration?
Sure. So Tyler is a big provider of government software.
Yep.
So Tyler's our primary ERP system, which right now really means mostly just our financials. So anything that's a subledger accounting package system that takes in money like Energov is going to have to flow into Energov. So right now we're using about 10-year-old integration where it's just a flat file that exports out, and then the finance people import it in, do their bank reconciliations. So part of this project also involves going to the more modern interface, so that it will flow more seamlessly than a very old school flat file. When the city originally purchased Energov, and it went live on June 18th, 2012, which is about the only really milestone date I can remember with any software, because it was a tough project. It was not at that time owned by Tyler. So Tyler subsequently came in and said, hey, we can't make land management software as good as the Energov product. So they just bought it. So they've been kind of bringing it closer and closer together over the last 10 years, and this is kind of one of the penultimate steps of that process.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments?
My only question was with regard to that integration and the fact that they're going to be discontinuing that third-party support. Is there any concern with kind of that monopoly on processing that it's going to end up increasing our costs versus finding a different solution that maybe gives us more flexibility?
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
So Tyler was supporting, I think, on the 2019 version of Energov, 8 or 10 providers. They're down to 2 or 3. And I have kind of unofficial word from Tyler that the only reason why our current provider is still allowed for a little bit longer is because of contractual obligations to other municipalities. So the rating's kind of on the wall. Obviously, the more eggs you have in one basket, they have some more price control on that. Ultimately, there are other land management software packages that are out there, and we use contract expirations kind of as leverage to go back and say, well, you're raising rates, or we're not really happy with where you're going, and then we threaten them with RFPs. And so sometimes we have we have a fairly good track record in IT, I think, of being able to negotiate those. Right now, our Energov and Munis Tyler contracts are actually for fairly short terms, 2 to 3 years. Because we were able to negotiate down from their 5 or 6% increases that they wanted into the 2 or 3% range. And keeping the contract shorter gives us that leverage to, again, go back and say, maybe we're not really happy with the way the product's heading, so we're going to threaten with an RFP and hopefully get those rates back down again.
Great. The RFP was my follow-up question, so thank you.
Sure.
All right. Someone want to move the resolution?
I think Lisa should move this one.
I was just,
She should second it.
just about to. I moved the resolution.
And I will second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, all 4-0 carries. Thank you very much, Brian. Now, we're going to talk with you about GIS.
Yes, sir. So my second resolution is for GIS, Geographic Information Systems, licenses, subscriptions, and maintenance with the Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated, also known as ESRI. ESRI is the dominant player in the GIS market. The city has utilized GIS software from ESRI since at least 1997. We're wrapping up a 3-year enterprise licensing contract with ESRI and would like to enter into a new contract for an additional 3-year term. The previous annual cost was $50,000, and the new increased cost has gone up 10% to $55,000 annually, with a total 3-year cost of $165,000. To give the city flexibility to purchase additional licenses over the length of this contract, this resolution is for a not-to-exceed amount of $180,000. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions, comments? And if not, someone can move the resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, say nay. Carries 4-0. Thank you very much. Brian.
Thank you. On to number 3. This resolution is for Cisco security products. The city currently utilizes Cisco security products for email, web, and endpoint security. Staff wish to enter into contracts to extend use of these 3 existing products and add Cisco's advanced phishing protection and security awareness and training products. These products will maintain, improve the city's cybersecurity posture. The proposed contracts have 5-year terms for a total cost of $149,806. And I'd be happy to answer your questions on this one.
Okay, questions, comments? If not, someone want to move the resolution.
Just say this is a great idea. We don't want to become Baltimore. Move approval.
We were.
Ouch.
They got the ransomware attack. I mean, that
Yeah,
was...
they're not the only one, so don't Can't
Yeah.
isolate just Baltimore. A lot
Very
of-
important.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Carries 4-0. Brian.
Number 4, this resolution is for Microsoft software licenses, subscriptions, and maintenance. The city has an existing 3-year enterprise agreement contract with Microsoft for desktop, server, and productivity software. The contract allows for the city to transition from Microsoft's classic licensing scheme to its newer Microsoft 365 product at the time of its choosing. FY23 is the third and final year of this contract. We are requesting an increase of $25,000 in FY23 based upon the addition of computers at the new 16 South Summit Avenue facility and an additional Microsoft Server Data Center Edition license for our virtual environment. The not to exceed resolution amount is for $235,000, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments?
I have a question.
Please.
Are there thoughts of other Microsoft products such as OneDrive, SharePoint to integrate?
Absolutely. So that's sometimes it's called Office 365, but Microsoft's licensing monikers for the last 2 years or so has been pushing towards Microsoft 365. I couldn't quite frankly tell you what the difference is. I think it's just branding. So that includes things like Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, right? So much easier sharing of files, for instance, between staff and council, but also between outside agencies like the county, things like that. So we do not currently have that, but this contract allows us to move when we're ready.
Okay, all right. Microsoft rebrand so they can change the pricing model as well.
There is that.
Surprise, surprise. They don't seem to get cheaper, do they?
No,
Not in my experience.
I'm just curious, does Amazon Web Services have competing superior products?
So if you look at like the Office suite itself, right, Word, things like that, the G Suite is the most common competitor for it. I'm not aware of any other municipalities in Maryland that are using G Suite. They're out there. There are businesses that are using it, but it's not that common. Sometimes you'll see people break off Gmail, right, just the email component, and then still use Microsoft Office as kind of the core. But I'm not aware. I won't claim to be an absolute expert standing before you, but I do not believe Amazon has any type of a product that directly competes with things like Word and PowerPoint.
You know who might know?
Yeah.
Neil works for AWS.
I would have to recuse myself from that discussion, but I'm not aware of anything that Amazon has like that either.
Yeah. They might host some open office types of things. Open office is another competitor that's out there that you see sometimes that some governments will go with, mainly European governments that I've seen when they're trying to get away from the Microsoft stranglehold.
Okay.
So regarding the server that you're adding, is that something in a cloud somewhere, or is that a server that's on premise?
No. So we essentially have the NetOps guys will probably yell at me tomorrow. We essentially have a virtual cloud. So we have a virtual environment. We have 4 primary physical hosts that have about, I want to say 40 plus on-prem servers. So for instance, earlier I mentioned Energov and Munis. Munis is spread across 2 different servers, and Energov is spread across 5 different servers in that virtual environment. So we do still have a number of on-premise things. As we move closer to Microsoft 365, some of that will probably be lessened. As the inevitable industry trend towards software as a service continues, eventually we won't be able to host Energov or Munis on site. So you're going to see in the coming years our software as a service costs are going to continue to rise, and our hardware outlays and things like the Microsoft licensing for on-prem is going to go down. We'll probably still lose, because that's the way the industry works, right? We'll still probably end up paying more, but this is still for our on-premise environment.
Great. I'll move the resolution.
Did you have another question?
Just a comment that it tends to, when you transfer from on-prem to cloud, you're paying for space and bits and bytes.
Sure.
Versus what is free on-prem. So you're correct to assess that pricing will likely go up.
All right, so we have a
Second.
motion and a second. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, carries 4-0. And you're next.
I know this is a significant disappointment, but this is my 5th and final resolution of the year. This one is for website software services. The city currently utilizes website software from Granicus LLC to host its websites at www.gaithersburgmd.gov and www.growgaithersburg.com. Staff are happy with the existing system and wish to continue utilizing it. The 2 websites haven't been refreshed since implementation, and staff feel it's appropriate to perform this work in FY23 to maintain a modern and user-friendly interface. We're proposing a new 3-year contract with website refresh services with Granicus for a not to exceed amount of $121,355. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on this one.
Any questions, comments? Someone want to move the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, carries 4-0. Tanisha.
So I think it's fitting that Brian shows up with 5 resolutions. This is his last official city council meeting as our acting IT director, and I just want to point out that these 5 resolutions are the result of an enormous amount of work and negotiation by Brian and his team, and he's done that, at least from my perspective, effortlessly, while also holding down an acting director role in addition to his regular role. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, Brian, for your work and your service, your dedication. You have kept us steady and in fact moved us forward during this time. You've been acting since October, and I am truly grateful for you standing in the gap for us. So thank you.
Give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much. It's an amazing department, and nothing could be done without them. So,
We're
thank
hiring.
you.
We're a great department.
We are
Join
hiring.
us.
Thank you all very much.
But it is a fact, Brian Helms is the best.
Yes, he is.
Kirk Eby. You knew you were coming up, Kirk.
Yes. All right, give me a second here to get ready.
We're going to talk about the sketch plan for the Stevenson Metropolitan Growth properties. What happened?
Well, I was going to show you an aerial, but it looks like the stuff I put on the computer has been deleted, so I won't show you an aerial. So I'll just talk. You can just really hear me talk. So good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, staff is presenting a revised resolution for sketch plan application SK-9174-2022, also known as the Stevenson Met Grove property, and a copy of that resolution is in your packet tonight. Let me skip that part. So the property is located north of the CSX Railroad, east of the existing Parklands community and the unbuilt urban core, south of city-owned land, and west of both the county vehicle recovery facility and 3 privately owned parcels. Sketch plan proposes to construct up to 287 dwelling units of various types on approximately 18.25 acres of undeveloped land. So the Mayor and City Council and Planning Commission held a joint public hearing on February 22nd, 2022, and the council's record closed on April 22nd. Mayor and City Council held policy discussion on May 16th and indicated support for the sketch plan application, subject to a condition regarding construction traffic being added to the resolution. Council was not able to take final action on the application during the May 16th meeting because the associated concept stormwater management plan had not yet been approved by the city's Department of Public Works. And on May 20th, the Department of Public Works did approve the concept stormwater plan, and that approval letter is included in tonight's packet. So again, staff has provided a revised draft resolution that incorporates the condition that was discussed at the policy discussion meeting. And specifically, that condition states that the applicant must include a construction traffic circulation and phasing plan as part of any schematic development plan application. And staff is available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Kirk. Questions or comments? Rabu, go ahead.
Jim just pointed at me, so yeah, it's the
Jim
trigger.
thinks he's the mayor.
It is the trigger. Yeah, I'll move approval of the resolution. I appreciate the addition of the traffic circulation plan. You know, just thinking through the impacts on the community that could happen. I think that's an essential element. But all in all, this and the adjoining properties, hopeful plan that'll come soon. It's just very exciting. So, move the resolution.
Thank you, Rob.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Carries 4-0. Thank you very much, Kurt. Sketch plan is approved. Okay, next, Jasmine Forbes. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you. So staff is before you with the draft resolution of denial for concept site plan application SP-8819-2021 for the properties located at 601, 605, and 607 South Frederick Avenue. The application was for a 5,617 square foot automatic car wash building. The Mayor City Council conducted a policy discussion on May 16th and directed staff to return with a draft resolution denial for final action. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have this evening.
Thank you very much, Jasmine. I think most of, I expect that most of what everyone had to say was said during policy discussion, so we essentially just have the vote to formalize it unless anybody has something they'd like to add.
Well, and I think the comments that were made in the discussion are very well captured in the document in detail. So I think this is what we concluded, and it's now memorialized.
Yep, I'd echo that. So I reviewed the document at length, and I think it accurately and fairly represents my rationale for the vote.
I would agree. I think it captures the discussion. I think there are some of the things that went, I think, beyond what I was concerned about, but I think it is a fair, it's a fair encapsulation, and I would be happy to move the resolution.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, carries 4-0.
Thank
you
you.
very much, Jasmine. Appreciate all your work. Next, we have Tom Lonergan-Seeger and Alexander Wallace to talk about our MML legislative action requests.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like you said, joining me tonight is Alexander Wallace from ZNC, the city's liaison for legislative affairs in Annapolis. Each spring, the Maryland Municipal League, which we talked a lot about tonight, MML, solicits input from our membership to help them establish their legislative priority issues for the next state legislative session. The input is provided in the form of LAR's legislative action requests from its memberships, which are, in short, ideas that could be potentially improved with a legislative fix during the 2023 legislative session. The deadline for submitting these LARs is July 1st. That's why we're here before you tonight. MML staff does conduct extensive research on all LARs that come from municipalities around the state, and then presents the request to the legislative committee, the MML legislative committee, for consideration. The committee then selects legislative priorities. Membership approves them during the MML Fall Conference. We have 3 of our own that we are proposing for this year. In short, one of them is a retread of last session, which was a revision to the provisions of House Bill 670 related to the police accountability boards and administrative charging committees, which in short would give municipalities the option of creating their own boards and committees that meet the same statutory requirements of the county-created boards and committees. The second one would be prioritization of investments in MARC transit to increase ridership, not just on the Brunswick line, but on lines across the state. And thirdly, City Attorney Board and I were going back and forth a little bit on what to call the third one. I had put in digital public notice advertising. Lynn, you'd come up with a little bit different language, but in short, several provisions of state law still require municipalities to post public notice ads in a newspaper of general circulation. For most matters, the city can post a notice on its website, but for several mostly planning-related items such as annexations, we are required to post a notice in a newspaper. Public notice requirements should accurately reflect modern-day information sharing processes. With websites, the proliferation of social media and other online sources to disseminate information, local governments should not have to continue to follow these antiquated advertising requirements to pay print newspapers of varied circulation to distribute notices. We'd like other means to be permitted for us. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that, Alexander?
I'm not as tall.
Nor am I.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
To the mayor and to the council, thank you so much for having us at ZNC. I'm filling in for Barbara Zektik. She has a family emergency, so you're seeing my lovely face tonight. For the foreseeable future, for the next couple of months, I'll be stepping in on Barbara's behalf as she deals with a long-term family medical issue. So it's a pleasure to serve you, the entire team. Now, 4 of us in Annapolis at ZNC I find it a true honor. As was mentioned earlier in the council remarks, the city is well regarded throughout the state. I come to you from this town of Upper Marlboro in Prince George's County, and I have family ties to Gaithersburg, so it's a personal connection to drive up 270 all the time, right? But it is a pleasure to represent you in Annapolis in all things, and before the Montgomery County Council as well. If there are any questions on the LARs, I would be happy to answer those, and any backstories of any other legislative initiatives that may run parallel to those. I can certainly answer those questions and what's been happening in the last couple of sessions.
I have one question, but it may be more tailored for Lynn, and it's about, we've been involved in the public notice advertising before, and we stopped for a couple of years because other priorities sort of loom larger, but are we required to advertise, like in the Washington Post, in the print edition, or can it be on the digital edition? And would that satisfy?
Yeah, no, and unfortunately it has to be in the print edition.
Yeah.
And, again, the issue here is, historically the Gazette and other newspapers were in Gaithersburg. Now really the Washington Post is the only one here. And from a legal perspective, I'm not sure it even meets the statutory definition of a newspaper of general circulation in Gaithersburg, but there's no other option. And it is very expensive to advertise, but yeah, they will not allow the digital. It's got to be in the print. We did a number of years ago attempt, these same changes, and we were not successful. The Press Association very much opposed, but I think over time people have come more and more to rely on digital media, and there are less newspapers available to advertise in, so the timing may be right this year. I do also know that the Maryland Municipal Attorneys Association is going to take up this issue as well this year.
Okay, very good. Well, these seem like good priorities for me. Let me go to Lisa and then Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Alexander. Question I have is about the Police Accountability Board, and it's more of a concern than a question. So I'm building out the solution at the county, so I've got some intimacy with the issue. And I'm concerned about if the costs have been reviewed and understood of if there's not that I'm opposed to a separate PAB for municipalities, but are the costs understood? There's a requirement to report to the ACC monthly. And we're going through issues of, for example, an incident occurs, and in the city of Gaithersburg, for example, there are 3 jurisdictions that could be on scene. City of Gaithersburg, Sheriff's Department, Montgomery County, and maybe a state police jurisdiction. And a citizen says there was use of force. What agency were they with? I don't know. Someone's got to go through all that data and report back out to the ACC what has occurred. Is that really understood, and the costs that are related to reporting out to the ACC understood?
So, Councilmember Henderson, I do believe that many of the legislators on the state level do understand those qualitative on-site scenarios. Has that been relayed to leadership in Annapolis? I am not 100% confident that it has. But I think those comments that you bring up tonight should be elevated and lifted up at the next session when we have certainty from House and Senate leadership that this initiative will receive full muster and full passage. So when we start having those conversations with the House Judiciary Committee and the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee, I'll be sure if you can't come yourself, I'll be sure that ZNC relays those concerns, not only through MML, but as your sole lobbying firm will represent your interests very well.
I've been dying to get to Annapolis, so yeah, count me in.
It's not as good as Barcelona, I must say.
Close, right?
Real close.
Jim? Or was that?
Yes,
John?
yes, thank
Go
you.
ahead, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. And nice to meet you as well, Alexander. And I don't know if this is a Lynn question as well or for you all, but very much in favor of modernizing our public notice requirements. My question is, I guess, on the language and using advertising and whether that implies actually purchasing notice either in a paper or whatever, whether that starts getting into the realm of, digital advertising versus an organic post on the website and social media. So I think that language as far as whether it's public notice or public notice advertising, I think does make a difference, and we should be intentional in how we position that.
Yep, understood.
Neil.
All right, well, also, I'd like to thank you for your work on our behalf and welcome you to our council meeting. Also, please convey our hopes to Barbara Zektik on behalf of her family and the issue that she's dealing with. So these three items are all important. They're all kind of a stretch from what I understand of the opinions of people in Annapolis. So I wish you well on the good work. One thing I'd like you to relay back to us, or to me at least, is a corollary to the MARC train one, which is the bill establishes a transportation trust fund work group. The transportation trust fund is something that is in need of being addressed in Annapolis, and I think that there are some effort to start that because it's funded by the gasoline tax, and gasoline usage is diminishing as time goes by, as cars become more efficient and more electric. So any thoughts in Annapolis on what they're going to do about that to make sure that there's enough money to fund transportation would be very, very enlightening to us.
So just briefly on that, I have this keen skill of remembering almost everything that is said on the House and Senate floors. And I don't know if the majority leader in the House of Delegates, Delegate Eric Lukey, meant for this to be resonated with a lot of lobbyists, but he did mention that in the coming sessions, particularly I'm assuming at the start of this next 4-year term, that the General Assembly has to look at the gasoline tax and its applicability and the trust fund and how the growth of EV cars, hybrid cars, how that's going to look going in the near future to fund our transit projects. Perhaps that is a 2-year study, and then they come back in the 3rd year and do a more robust legislative package. That is my working assumption. But those were just conversations that he said on the House floor in the waning days of the session. So I'm not sure if there was fruitful meaning behind it, but I remember it.
Okay. Well, it's good that somebody at least over there is thinking about it, but I'm sure they're aware that it's going to be an issue that needs to be addressed at some point.
Yes, it's a long-term issue that they have to address.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Rob.
No question, just welcome, and please pass along my best to Barbara and her family.
Absolutely. Yes.
For all of us, please.
Yes.
Okay, well, it seems like we have general approval of these LARs. Tom, you feel guided?
I feel guided, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Alexander, thank you so much for being with us. From the city attorney.
I just briefly wanted to discuss 2 cases with you that have been recent court decisions. The first is our own case, Eckert versus the mayor and city council. I'm very pleased that the circuit court has upheld the mayor and council's decision denying the Everbrook Academy SDP. So we were very happy with that outcome. I'd like to recognize Eric Perla, who worked very hard on the brief in that case, did an excellent job.
Please express our gratitude.
All right. Will certainly do. The other case I wanted to mention is a U.S. Supreme Court case of Arizona versus San Francisco City and County. This is one of the many cases before the U.S. Supreme Court on the public charge rule. The mayor and council did participate in an amicus brief in that case. The U.S. Supreme Court did dismiss the case, which is the position that we had supported. So it does support the current Biden administration's interpretation of the public charge rule versus the Trump administration's interpretation of that rule. So in both cases, good news for the city.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Anything from any other staff? Not seeing anything? Okay. Well, as we mentioned, next week, June 27th, we have our update on the Quince Orchard Boulevard Street Reconstruction Bicycle Path Project. Then on July 2nd, we have Summerfest. We hope you all join us. It's an amazing, amazing event. And then the next regular meeting of Mayor and Council will be Monday, July 5th. And until next time, let's do great things, Gaithersburg. What is
Tuesday.
Tuesday, July 5th. I said kids, I'm reading right off the thing. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, Tuesday, whatever July 5th is. That's the next time you get to see us in regular meeting. Until next time, let's do great things, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.